It's the Warmies. Merry holidays, everybody. I'm a little discombobulated on this Tuesday night, and I don't know if it's obvious why, with this strange headgear situation we've got going on live from the Sports Interaction studio. I've got the big tin cans around my ears, and they're going around my back because I couldn't resist the Sports Interaction headgear to start off today's show. And I think it was well worth it. Trying to stack these on top of each other like some sort of thing you might wear at a football stadium to maximize your drink input, something like that. It's already off to a great start here. Feels like a while since I've done one of these shows. I haven't even mentioned what they're called. This is the Warmies, and thank you all for being here with us live from our Sports Interaction studio here in the heart of Calgary, Alberta. And if you'll forgive me, I think it's time to put this thing just there we go. That's nice. Just in the bottom of our shot. My name is Mike Gould, and thank you all for joining us, for getting warm. I'm warm. Got my North Face on. Got everything just sort of where it needs to be ahead of what should be a fun game. The Calgary Flames wrapping up a 2-game road swing in Southern California. Well, I guess not so southern today, more like mid-central California, up near Stockton and Bakersfield and Sacramento and San Francisco. Today they are in San Jose, and they are taking on the San Jose Sharks. Once again, thrilled to have you along with us live from the Sports Interaction studio. They are great folks over at that site, sportsinteraction.com/FlamesNation. It is 19 plus. Please play responsibly. It's a really good place. It doesn't matter what it is. Every game is your game when you bet with Sports Interaction, from puck drop all the way to overtime. You can bet with Canada's homegrown sports book. And there's a lot to talk about as it pertains to today's game. We'll throw up the lines there, producer Michael. The Flames are actually favored in this game against the San Jose Sharks at minus 145 on the line provided there from Sports Interaction. The Sharks at plus 118. The over-under has been set at 5.5 and the spread at 1.5. So otherwise relatively straightforward stuff from the good folks over at SI. Minus 145 maybe feels a little bit generous to the Flames. So maybe if you're in the mood to be a little contrarian tonight, you could poke that plus 118 over for San Jose. It's a really interesting night, not just for the Flames, for the entire National Hockey League. Of course, the Flames are a couple of days removed from defeating the Los Angeles Kings in their first game of this dad's trip that they are currently on. And that game ended in overtime. It was a game that the Kings had multiple chances to win. They did not win, and the Flames ultimately emerged victorious. But the thing is, these types of situations often have double meanings. There's two sides to the coin. And for the Calgary Flames, a lot of their fans have been clamoring for different things to happen this season, for the Flames to embrace the tank, to go in a different direction. And they're starting to get some help from unorthodox sources. We saw in the week since I was last on this show, we had my buddy Dean Molberg, you may know him as Boomer, doing this show prior to the game against the Kings. In the week-ish since I've done this show, things have shaken up the NHL to its very core. I'm, of course, referring to Jonathan Berggren being claimed off waivers by the St. Louis Blues earlier today, and Vladislav Kolyachonok going from Dallas to Boston. But also, of course, on top of that, prior to that, we saw one of the biggest trades in recent NHL history with Quinn Hughes going to the Minnesota Wild from the Vancouver Canucks. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the show. But things are changing in the NHL landscape. The Vancouver Canucks in action earlier today, defeating their opponents by a final score, they were in action, on yesterday. Big stuff happening in Vancouver with the Canucks. No, that was earlier today. What was I saying? 3-0 against the New York Rangers. Evander Kane, Liam Ugrin, and Connor Garland getting the goals at MSG. The Rangers continue to be kind of a floundering team on home ice. But the Canucks, they trade Quinn Hughes, and wouldn't you know, they've won back-to-back games. So things they've already started, but things continuing to compress at the bottom of the NHL standings. The Canucks, after their win today, 1 point back of the Calgary Flames. And when the Canucks traded Quinn Hughes, the narrative is all about, oh, this team is awful. This team is so bad. The Flames will never be this bad. 33 games in the books. Not quite 33% of the season. Actually, quite a bit more than 33% of the season is in the books. These two teams are separated by 1 loss in overtime. The Flames have 16 losses in regulation. The Vancouver Canucks have 17 losses in regulation. The Flames have 4 losses in overtime or a shootout. And the Canucks have 3. That's your only difference. Canucks have traded Quinn Hughes. Was on a show with our buddy Pinder recently where we were talking about, how the Quinn Hughes stuff might impact the Flames and whatnot. I sort of said, if the Canucks do trade Quinn, and I didn't expect it to happen that quickly, I might not be surprised to see them actually go on a bit of a run after that. It relieves the pressure. It relieves the tension. And that tension is gone. They got young players who are playing to kickstart their careers in Zeev Boyum and Liam Ogren and Marco Rossi. And wouldn't you know it, things are starting to move in that direction, it seems, at least, for the Vancouver Canucks. Adding on to that, just a lot of 3-point games around the entire NHL. So lots going on. We want to see some super chats in the comments. Super chats benefit the youth centers of Calgary. It's a great time of year to contribute. It's a great time of year to get your chats read out loud on the show. And it's a show that I think is going to have a lot of chat, not just about the Flames, but also, these other teams in the National Hockey League. But I found it very interesting that it came out earlier today via Pierre LeBrun and Darren Dreger, friend of the show, a friend of the Barnburner show on TSN and on Insider Trading, talking about how as soon as the Quinn Hughes trade happened, Rasmus Anderson chatter started increasing around the league by significant factors. That, to me, super interesting, and it's an interesting way to parlay into today's lines for the Calgary Flames, as it has been uncharacteristically light on games played, on action, on taxing energy on these Flames players of late. The one exception may be Michael Backlund, and we're going to see what comes out of Warmies here. Not the titular Warmies, well, sort of the titular Warmies, but we're not referring metaphysically to this show. We're referring to the actual Warmies in San Jose. But Michael Backlund has not, taken full part in every Flames practice. The lines for the Calgary Flames looking relatively familiar, aside from that conspicuous absence potentially. And you can see the little icon there next to the captain's jersey. Aside from that, Jonathan Huberdeau on his familiar side with Morgan Frost and Matt Coronado. Nazem Kadri with Joel Farabee and Yegor Sharangovich. That line's got a little bit cold in the last couple games, hoping to see a big game from them tonight. Backlund, if he is healthy, will go between Zary and Coleman. If not, we might see Zary in the middle between Dryden Hunt and Blake Coleman. And on line number 4, it is Johnny Beecher between Adam Klapka and Ryan Lomberg for your Calgary Flames up front. 4 very, very familiar forward lineups that we have seen for this Flames team this season, especially in the last 6 weeks or so. On defense, though, this is, what we're sort of getting into. More Hunter Brustevich on a pairing with Joel Hanley. Then it's Jan Kuznetsov, Mackenzie Weegar, and it is Kevin Ball and Rasmus Anderson. And wouldn't you know it, just from Derek Wills just a couple of moments ago, Flames lines, pairings, and goaltenders against the San Jose Sharks, just exactly what we put up on screen. Michael Backlund will play. The captain will play for the Calgary Flames in today's game. We have a super chat from our buddy Shrimp on the Bobby down under. Shrimp on the Bobby, I got a question for you. I've been debating a trip to your neck of the woods, or neck of the lands, the flatland, the plains, perhaps. I don't know if there are any woods in Australia per se, but if I make my way down there, I might need some recommendations for accommodation. So please put that in the chat, or if you can help brother out. But Shrimp on the Bobby, for now, 2 Australian $2. Been a few tough days in Oz. Need a Flames win. No kidding, it has been a few tough days in Australia. There's all sorts of stuff that's been just horrible in the news, and we wish you and your best all the safeness in the world, safety in the world as we head into this holiday season. But just been awful to see these horrible reports coming out from down there, and we wish you all the best. It's such a beautiful place. I know so many folks who have been in that area who have, not even just from different parts of my life, but just a beautiful place. And I wish you all the best down there. Shrimp on the Barbie, and we appreciate your super chat. We do need a Flames win tonight. Wouldn't that be something? It's the thing. This is the only year that I can remember where there's been so much going on with the Flames, possibly being in a losing environment in a tank type season. And yet 1 win, 1 loss, not really changing things to any extent. It's been so weird the way that things have just remained constant. That one bad run for the Flames at the start of the year put them in this position. And no matter how much they seem to win or turn it around, they always seem to remain in that 32nd, 31st, 30th, just because every team is right there with them. And Shrimp of the Bobby, just getting back to the message that you just sent. Yeah. Hey, if you got an extra bed, you got an extra pull-out couch, a futon, perhaps. I don't know if they call them futons in the land down under, but if they do, just give me a ring. We'll talk later. There's lots we can discuss. Yeah, it's a great super chat, and we appreciate it, and we wish again all of you down in the land down under all the best, and we hope Santa Claus is still able to run into those 6 white boomers on the beautiful Australian plains. Lots of good chats going on in our super chat and in our regular chat section underneath our show. This is live from the Sports Interaction studio, and we're going to get into what is happening on the other side in this game. The San Jose Sharks putting forth 4 very interesting forward lines. Producer Michael, if you can put them up on the screen. Very familiar face there in Tyler Toffoli on the second line with William Eklund and Alexander Wenberg. The other names in this forward lineup, maybe to some of you, will not be as notable. But Igor Chernyshov is a guy who is very, very exciting, has had some excellent games in the American Hockey League with the Barracuda, and also with Zane Parekh with the Saginaw Spirit in the OHL. Now he's lining up on the top line with Macklin Celebrini and Colin Graff for the Sharks tonight. Ty Dellandrea between Jeff Skinner and Ethan Cardwell on the third line. Skinner recently missed some time due to injury. He's back in for San Jose. And the fourth line, Adam Gaudette centering Barclay Goodrow and Ryan Reeves. Revo will be 39 this year. One of the oldest players in the entire National Hockey League. Wouldn't you know it? He's still kicking, and he's on that fourth line for the San Jose Sharks. The defense pairings for San Jose, certainly defense not their bread and butter to this point in the season, but not terrible, better than we've seen in years past. Mario Ferraro with Timothy Liljegren on the top pair, Dmitry Orlov alongside John Klingberg, and it is Shakir Mukhamadullin along with Vincent Iorio, the waiver claim from the Washington Capitals, on pairing number 3 for the San Jose Sharks. The Sharks currently occupying the second wildcard spot in the Western Conference at 16, 14, and 3. In Gary Bettman's land, they have a .530 points percentage. In the real world, they're below 500, but that's still good enough to be in the second playoff spot, the second wildcard playoff spot in the Western Conference. So it just goes to show the parity, or as I think I saw one NHL executive recently call it, the garrity in the National Hockey League, the Gary Bettman parity in this league. It's just crazy how many of these teams are right next to each other in the league standings. There's lots to talk about. There were a couple interesting quotes that I saw today, and there was a great article over at Daily Faceoff from my buddy Anthony DeMarco talking about, all that happened behind the scenes with the Quinn Hughes trade. And there was some really interesting stuff in this article, and I highly recommend you go over to dailyfaceoff.com and check it out. The most interesting part of it to me, and I'm sure to every Flames fan, concerns Nazem Kadri, because the Minnesota Wild have made a splash in a big way, and they have maybe created an impetus for other teams to go after Rasmus Andersson, throwing the first stone into the glass house, and maybe they're releasing some steam and they're putting some movement into the gears. The NHL's holiday roster freeze kicks in this Friday, and I will say, comparing now to before the Quinn Hughes trade happened, the odds in my mind of Rasmus Andersson getting traded this calendar year have gone up way up, way up, just because Quinn Hughes has now been moved by the Vancouver Canucks. But the interesting thing in the Anthony DeMarco article to me concerned the center position for the Minnesota Wild. And there was an interesting tweet that I saw today, and Michael, you've got this one queued up as well. concerning the Minnesota Wild's forward group and how a player like Nazem Kadri, who again is lining up on the Flames' second line tonight, could possibly fit in for the Minnesota Wild. Because you look at this lineup for Minnesota, and there are obvious standout positions. On defense, it's incredible. Quinn Hughes, Brock Faber, Jonas Brodin, and Jared Spurgeon in your top four is depth that any team would kill to have on defense. Their goaltending tandem, arguably the best in the entire league, with Philip Gustafsson and Jesper Wallstedt. On the wings, they've got some fantastic wingers. Kirill Kaprizov is the highest paid player in the entire league. Matt Boldy is excellent. Marcus Johansson has been amazing value on a sub-$1 million contract this year. And Mats Zuccarello has lived up to his billing when former Wild GM Paul Fenton signed him, describing him as a lizard. I don't know if he's been very lizard-like for the Minnesota Wild, but he's been very good. So you've got some top six wingers you like. You've got options on the depth side you like. Ryan Hartman and Nico Sturm as bottom six centers you like. Joel Eriksson as your second line center you love. And Danila Yurov as your top line center. You sort of say, okay, well, I don't know necessarily about that one. So that's where the idea of Nazem Kadri starts to make a lot of sense, especially as the Minnesota Wild have some contracts that are not particularly offensive, but that the Calgary Flames could possibly say, okay, if we need to retain a little bit of money on Nazem Kadri and take back a guy like Yakov Trenin, who makes $3.5 million a year, to offset the cap hit for Nazem Kadri a little bit, that's where it says, okay, maybe Minnesota is a good trading partner, because at the same time, they also have a number of pieces, even after trading for Quinn Hughes, that are very appealing. They still have first round and second round draft picks in future seasons. They still have a number of young players, guys like Riley Height and Charlie Strammel and even David Juracek and Danila Yurov. Players, maybe not all of them are available, but some of them ought to be available. And it just is a really interesting combination of pieces for the Calgary Flames and the Minnesota Wild if they were to hook up on a possible trade. Just really interesting stuff there from Daily Faceoff. Interesting stuff from my buddy Anthony DeMarco, and interesting stuff that I'm seeing from Minnesota Wild fans, because really, game in, game out, the lines have stayed the same for the Calgary Flames. There's not a whole lot to delve into as far as new stuff on that side, but there might be new stuff if the Calgary Flames do make a move like that, and there's only a couple days left until that holiday roster freeze. So worth diving into that, I think. Let's go back to our friends over at Sports Interaction, because we got some interesting props that we want to dive in for today's game. And we'll kick one off. Michael, let's throw one of those up there, up on the screen. Let's hear. The Flames have had a couple instances in recent games where they have kicked things off really, really quickly with quick goals right at the start of these games. These are some interesting props. Over, under goals in the first 5 minutes. 0.5, 1.5. Are we going to get off to a real hot start tonight? You know what? These two teams, their defenses are fine. They've got quality NHL veteran players. The Flames have Mac Weegar. They've got Rasmus Anderson. They got Kevin Ball. They got Joel Hanley. Sharks have Mario Ferraro, who's been around forever. Dmitry Orlov's been around forever. They've got guys. By the same token, I'm inclined to go over on a lot of these. I think we're going to see some early goals. I think we're going to see lots of goals. I think we're going to see a bit of a frenzy tonight. It is Dustin Wolf in net for the Calgary Flames tonight, but even so, I think there's going to be a lot of action for these two teams, and I'm really looking forward to seeing if we can get off to a fast and furious start as this game between the Calgary Flames and the San Jose Sharks takes place, because I don't know. It just seems whenever the Flames and Sharks meet up, there's always a little bit of intrigue. I mean, I remember the Flames and the Sharks have not played in a playoff series against each other in a while, not since 2008. There were some crazy games in that playoff series. They made up in the 2004 run. I remember the Flames mounting a bit of an improbable push for the playoffs late in the 2015-16 season, and that run ending in a game in San Jose where Kari Ramo, if you'll remember that name, got ran into by a Sharks player, suffered an injury that actually ended his NHL career. Jonas Hiller came in. He was having just an awful season, but made a number of incredible saves and won that game for the Calgary Flames. They didn't win a whole lot of games after that, but it just seems like things always happen when it's the Flames taking on the San Jose Sharks, and really looking forward to bringing this one to you on this Tuesday evening. Anyway, when we go back to those bets, I would very much say bet the over. Calgary Flames, San Jose Sharks putting up a lot of offense in tonight's game. And you can go over there to sportsinteraction.com/FlamesNation. They got a ton of different markets. It's not just hockey. We know there's lots of sports out there that you folks like, whether you like football, basketball. I mean, baseball is not happening right now, but there's lots going on. Head on over to sportsinteraction.com/FlamesNation. It's been a trusted Canadian brand for many, many decades. We trust them enough to put their logo on a helmet. I mean, they put it on the helmet. They sent it over to us. But hey, it's a great logo, and it keeps my head just in place during these crazy Calgary Flames games that we have all seen this season. So head on over there. Good folks supporting the Warmies. There's still lots to get into. I mean, there's the Rasmus Andersson stuff, the Blake Coleman stuff, and the Nazem Kadri stuff. I often think it is the buyers who dictate the market often as much as the sellers do. And when there is a team out there that has a vacancy that occurs for whatever reason, these big trades can spur other trades, whether it's other teams replying to these trades in a certain way, or whether it's the team that makes the first trade saying, okay, we've gone for it now. We better not waste this. We better do more. And I think there's going to be a little bit of both that comes out of this Quinn Hughes situation. And I think the Calgary Flames can stand to benefit from both sides of it. We've talked already about how Nazem Kadri to Minnesota makes a ton of sense. The other part of it to me is, Rasmus Andersson and Blake Coleman to a lesser extent being available. How do other teams respond to this? If I'm the Dallas Stars, I have taken the opportunity at the last two trade deadlines now to say my defensive group isn't good enough. On the right side, I do not have enough. I don't have what it takes to be a true contender. And I have made moves to sacrifice short-term capital to acquire these players for the short term. Long-term capital to acquire these players for the short term. I have parted with a second-round pick to get Chris Tanev from this very same Flames team 2 years ago. I parted with a first-round pick to get Michael Granlund and Cody Ceci from the Anaheim Ducks a year ago. From the San Jose Sharks. Granlund's with the Ducks now. And if I'm the Dallas Stars, obviously Rasmus Andersson, you talk about him possibly going to a team and signing an extension there, which is not really something that was baked in with either Tanev or Cody Ceci. And the prospect of Blake Coleman is just so fascinating as well for the Dallas Stars, being a local guy, being a guy who can go in there and probably just blend in perfectly. A guy who can perhaps replace Mason Marchment in a certain way, a guy who Dallas had and was very, very good for them, but they had to move to the Seattle Kraken to accommodate some other contracts. And Blake Coleman, Mason Marchment, that is an excellent side-by-side comparison. Coleman a little bit smaller, but he does a lot of the exact same things. And so I look at that situation and say, boy, if I am in the Central Division, I have just seen the Minnesota Wild, a team that has always been a little bit of an also ran in that division, say, we want to be better. And if I'm the Calgary Flames, I say, hey, Dallas, we know you don't want to fall behind. We know the Colorado Avalanche are a thorn in your side. We know the Minnesota Wild are about to be. Take these two guys. Give us what you got. We'll make a deal that works for the both of us. And the Flames and Stars have not been strangers. They've made multiple deals since Craig Conroy took over as Flames GM. I just think it makes a ton of sense. The other team that was floated today by Pierre LeBrun over at TSN was the Toronto Maple Leafs. And this to me doesn't make sense. I don't see the Leafs having the pieces. I don't see the Brad Treliving tax being easily overcome by the Toronto Maple Leafs, with the Flames obviously not wanting to play into their former GM's hands. And I find it hard to believe that a package surrounding Brandon Carlo and Ben Danford and Easton Cowan will be the undeniable collection of talent the Flames will look for. Even though this was interesting, this was probably the most interesting tidbit from LeBrun's hit today, was that he indicated it's possible, if not probable, that the Leafs would be a team that Rasmus Andersson would be open to possibly extending with. And obviously there was all the hubbub made in the summer about how Rasmus was trying to limit the market to only one or two teams. Now we're up to possibly 3, if that report is to be believed. Dallas, Vegas, and Toronto. So lots to chew on there. Again, I don't know how Toronto necessarily fits that into their structure. They parted with a lot of assets last year to get Brandon Carlo in the first place from the Boston Bruins. I can't see Carlo being a piece that the Flames would be interested in at all. And they've got their own issues to sort out. Brad Treliving is at the helm of a team for the second time in 4 years now that is grappling with the loss of an 100-point player in free agency and realizing that that can't be so easily overcome. And in this case, the Leafs did not have a Jonathan Huberdeau that they went out and acquired. They went out and acquired Matthias Maccelli and Nick Waugh, which is another rung below a guy like Jonathan Huberdeau, and even to a lesser extent, Nazem Kadri. So the Leafs are in a tough spot. I don't know if they're even going to be prepared to part with those futures, but it's just interesting whenever it's put out by a national media member talking about what the future holds for the Calgary Flames and one of their top pending UFA players. But really, I am just so fascinated by what the future holds for the Calgary Flames and for their young players. They have many decisions to make. They have, and Pike and I and Pinder and I have been over this so many times. I will be on today's edition of the Afterburner post-game show. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'll have my buddy Ryan Pike joining me on that, and I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit more. For now, though, it's all about boosting other guys as well. Kadri, Anderson, these guys have both been extremely kind to the Flames in a certain way this season in providing them immense value that the Flames can capitalize on. And we'll see if that continues tonight. 2 nights ago or 3 nights ago, I guess it was Saturday night, Blake Coleman continued to add to what has been a very good season for him as well. He hasn't gotten the assist to go, but he had a beautiful shorthanded goal against the Los Angeles Kings. And that set the Flames on course to win that game at the Crypto.com Arena in downtown Los Angeles. So they are getting breaks on that end. It's just a matter of whether they are willing to capitalize on it. But in a lot of these seasons, in a lot of these situations where these things drag out at the start, it seems there's always an inciting incident. And this year, it seems to certainly be the Quinn Hughes trade. And there's lots to go on there. So yeah, just some food for thought. There's lots going on. We don't have to litigate it all. And we'll have plenty of opportunity to do so after the game. Until then, Michael, why don't you throw those initial lines up one more time, just so the folks in the comments and in the chat can just kind of relitigate them once more. The Flames favored in tonight's game at the Shark Tank in San Jose at -145. We talked about those sort of the props on the early goals in this game. The over-under set at 5.5. It is favored. The over is favored at -120. Even still, I would put it on the over. I don't think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think it's going to be a very high-scoring game. I think we're getting back into the time where there are guys on the Flames who are more overdue to score than maybe due for regression. I think we're starting to see it again, where Zary and Sharangovich and even Huberdeau and Weegar again are getting colder. And I think we're going to see some opportunities for guys to bounce back yet again. I think tonight's going to be a very big and very high-scoring game. I don't know who it's going to go in favor of. Again, I said that +118 for San Jose. San Jose looked pretty favorable, but in either way, I would sort of characterize this one as a toss-up. Well, folks, this has become a really interesting season. I don't remember the last time that we were this deep into it, almost halfway through, and so many things were this much in flux. With so many teams grouped together at the bottom of the NHL standings, in the middle of the NHL standings, even close to the top. And every game is becoming just so consequential. So we appreciate y'all joining us on today's edition of the Warmies. We're just a few minutes away from puck drop in San Jose. It is the Calgary Flames, the San Jose Sharks, one team at the bottom of the Western Conference standings, or at least close to it. One team trying to claw their way into a surprise playoff berth. A lot on the line tonight, and we appreciate you tuning in. For my producer, Michael, for everybody at the Nation Network, my name is Mike Gould. You'll see us again on the Afterburner. Until then, you've been watching this edition for Sports Interaction of the Warmies.
Hey, buddies. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Also, if you could throw in a like and subscribe, it does help us out with what it is we are doing. And check out more at flamesnation.ca.